Before he died, my grandfather left 2 old fountain pens. One for me, one for my cousin. The gold pen guaranteed success on every exam. The wooden pen brought calm and focus. My cousin grabbed the gold pen first. With it, she passed every test. She climbed fast. She became the golden child of the family. I kept the wooden pen. I calmed my mind. I studied something no one wanted to study. I became an expert nobody could replace. Years later, the gold pen ran dry. My cousin's true self came out. She was careless, reckless, untrained. She made a disastrous mistake on a major project. She was about to go to prison for it. I was called in as the expert to review her work. She cornered me in a parking garage. She hit the gas. She drove straight at me. If you hadn't kept that wooden pen, none of this would have happened. "Let's die together," she said. Then came the pain. Then came the dark. When I opened my eyes, I was back at my grandfather's bedside. The day he divided the pens, my cousin was already gripping the wooden pen. She leaned toward me, smiling like she'd won something. "No gold pen this time. Let's see how far nothing gets you." 1. Before my grandfather passed, he called us both to his bed. The room smelled like antiseptic. The window was cracked open. Hot June air drifted in. He was so thin. He looked like paper over bone. Still, he reached under his pillow. He pulled out a small cloth bag. Inside were 2 pens. A gold one, its cap worn smooth from years of use. A wooden one, with fine cracks along the shaft. Julia. Vanessa. His voice was barely there. "These were your grandmothers. The gold pen brings luck on exams. The wooden one brings focus and calm." He looked at both of us. But these are only tools, not fate. A steady life is built by your own hands. In my first life, my cousin Vanessa was faster. She snatched the gold pen before I could move. With it, she sailed through every test. Top high school, a good college, every civil service exam after that. The whole family called her the family's golden child. I took the wooden pen, senior year of high school. I nearly broke. My parents were gone. We had no money. That pen helped me breathe, helped me focus. I used it through every problem set, every long night I wanted to quit. I went into rare book conservation. Obscure work, slow, unglamorous, poorly paid. But I stayed with it. I became the youngest conservator in the state. In that first life, once Vanessa's pen ran dry, her whole world came apart. She had no real skill underneath the luck. On a digitization project for historic archives, she wanted results fast. So she let a contractor fake the materials, fake the data, and pocket the grant money. I was brought in as the outside expert. I found the fraud on the spot. She cornered me in the parking garage. "Julia, if you'd just given me that wooden pen, I wouldn't be like this. You could have made me focus, made me strong. Why didn't you help me?" Then she hit the gas. Pain. Her face twisted. The last thing I saw. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at my grandfather's bedside. Before he could even finish speaking, Vanessa lunged forward and grabbed the wooden pen. She held it tight, knuckles white. "I want this one." She looked at me, eyes gleaming. "Julia, the gold pen's yours. Your grades were always average anyway. Maybe this'll get you into a decent school." I understood in that instant. She had been reborn too. She believed the wooden pen was the secret to my old success. She thought stealing it would steal my life. I picked up the gold pen. It felt cold in my hand. My grandfather watched. Disappointment flickered across his face. Not at me. At Vanessa. He took my hand. His palm felt like dry bark. "Julia." He leaned close, so only I could hear. "Don't be afraid. The pen helps for a while, but you still have to walk the road yourself. My eyes filled with tears. In my first life, I never saw him again after that day. Vanessa stood beside us, impatient. "Grandpa, anything else? I've got tutoring this afternoon." He closed his eyes, let out a quiet sigh. "Vanessa, don't treat people like enemies, especially Julia. She's your family, not a debt you're owed." Vanessa's face went stiff. "Grandpa, what are you talking about?" Of course she understood. In my first life, she had killed me, and in this one, she'd taken the wooden pen again and felt like she'd already won. At 5 o'clock, his breathing slowed. He looked toward the window. His lips moved. "Your grandmother's here for me," he whispered. At 5:03, the monitor flatlined. My aunt broke down crying. Vanessa stood in the corner, looking down at the wooden pen. The corner of her mouth curled up. I walked over. I slapped her across the face. The room went silent. "Julia, how dare you hit me?" "Grandpa just died." "What exactly are you smiling about?" Hatred flashed across her eyes. She leaned in close. "Julia, who are you performing this grief for? The wooden pen is mine now. Without it, let's see if you ever get back up." I laughed. "Then hold on to it tight. Try not to lose track of who you are." Her expression shifted. I turned away and knelt at the bedside. In this life, I decided something. I would never call her family again. My grandfather's funeral was arranged in a hurry. Our family was never wealthy. My parents died young, and he raised me by repairing pens and watches at a street stall. My uncle's family loved to talk about duty. When it came to actually paying for anything, they were experts at looking broke. My aunt scrolled her phone. "Money's tight for us too, lately. Vanessa's exam prep isn't cheap." My uncle sat smoking. "Your father loved Vanessa best. She should chip in more." I knelt at the altar and looked up at them. "Where's Grandpa's bank book?" My aunt looked away. "What bank book? He didn't have one." I said nothing. I stood and walked into his room. Under the third loose floor tile, there was a small metal box. In my first life, I only found it after the burial. $26,000 inside money. This time, the box was already empty. My fingers went cold. Behind me, Vanessa's voice. "Looking for something?" She leaned in the doorway, twirling the wooden pen, smiling. "Looking for the money? Don't bother. I already have it." I stepped toward her. "Vanessa, that was Grandpa's funeral money. He isn't even buried yet, and you're already spending it." She shrugged. "I'm his granddaughter too. Why shouldn't I? Besides, don't you have the gold pen? Ace a few tests? Scholarships will come rolling in. Give the money back." "No. What are you going to do? Tell the police I stole from my own grandfather?" She stepped closer, voice low. "Julia, I know you want to take the SATs. No money for food, no money for the test fee. What's the point of even trying? In your old life, you were all about doing the right thing. Let's see who's impressed by your principles this time." My nails dug into my palms. The pain kept me steady. "We can't make a scene. Grandpa isn't even buried yet." I went to find my uncle instead. He barely looked up. If she took it, she took it. "You two can sort it out later," I said. What she took was funeral money. My aunt snapped. "Don't be dramatic. He never said that money belonged to anyone specific. Vanessa's family too." Behind her, Vanessa winked at me. That was the moment I fully understood. In my first life, her killing me wasn't sudden. She'd always been like this. I just told myself family shouldn't keep score. So I gave in. Again and again, and she only complained I was in her way. On burial day, it rained hard. I held his photo and knelt in the mud. Vanessa stood off to the side under an umbrella, in a brand new black dress. She didn't cry. She texted the whole time. After everyone left, she walked over. "Don't cry, Julia. Tears don't pay rent. By the way, that little house you're living in, it's in my parents' name now. Pay rent or move out. I looked up at her. Rain ran down my face. I couldn't tell anymore if it was rain or tears. When I got home, my things were already dumped in the yard. Soaked books. Muddy school uniform. My old backpack, the one Grandpa had patched 3 times, had a boot print across it. Vanessa stood on the steps, jingling a set of keys. Sleep in the yard tonight, or go beg a teacher to take you in. And don't you dare tell anyone I bullied you. No one would believe a girl who just lost her grandfather could be this cruel. I picked the books up, one by one. Then I called my homeroom teacher, Mrs. Reeves. Can I stay with you a few days? 2 seconds of silence. Then fast. Where are you? Don't move. I'm coming. I hung up. Vanessa's smile faltered a little. She hadn't expected me to actually ask for help. Vanessa. From today, we're not sisters anymore. She laughed. Who cares? I didn't answer. I knew she'd care soon enough. She'd be begging me to acknowledge her again. 3. Headlights cut through the rain when Mrs. Reeves arrived. She saw me at the gate, and her eyes went red instantly. She threw her coat over my shoulders. How did you end up like this? Where's your family? I didn't explain. Just asked to go to her place. She looked at the soaked books, the locked door. She understood. That night, she made me ginger tea and gave me her daughter's old clothes. Half a month until the SATs. Don't let those people get to you. I wasn't afraid of the exam. The foundation I'd built with the wooden pen in my first life was still there in my head. This time I also had the gold pen, but I knew luck alone doesn't teach you anything. An empty mind can't write an answer, gold pen or not. For 2 weeks, I barely slept. Days at school, nights reviewing every mistake. The gold pen made vague ideas click into place, fewer careless errors. But I never let myself get comfortable. Every problem, I solved twice. Once with the gold pen, once with an ordinary one. Mrs. Reeves noticed. You study harder than I expected. I smiled. I'm afraid the luck runs out. 3 days before the exam, Vanessa showed up at my school. New dress, new backpack, spent on my grandfather's money. Comfortable, living at the teacher's place? She blocked my path, raised her voice for the crowd. Everyone, our top student here, starts playing the victim right after her grandfather dies. Won't even stay with her own family. Isn't that emotional blackmail? Heads turned. Whispers started. I looked at her. Vanessa, did the $26,000 you stole from Grandpa's box pay for that dress? Everything went quiet. Her face changed. What are you talking about? I played a recording on my phone, her own voice, from that day. Don't bother looking. I already have it. What are you going to do about it? The crowd exploded. She stole from her own grandfather? That's disgusting. And she's the one playing victim? Vanessa lunged for my phone. I stepped back. Mrs. Reeves came out just in time. Vanessa, my office. Now, the school called her parents. My aunt showed up yelling accusations before anything else. How dare you drag family business into school? When you threw me out, did you remember I was family then? Mrs. Reeves played the recording for her directly. Her face went white, then red. Kids just fooling around. $26,000 isn't a joke, Mrs. Reeves said flatly. Pay it back or Julia reports it to the police. That night, my aunt returned $18,000. The rest, Vanessa already spent, she claimed. I took it. Didn't push further. The exam was days away. I could settle the rest later. When Vanessa came out of the office, her eyes were red with rage. Don't get cocky. You think a gold pen means you win? Wait until the wooden pen kicks in. Then you'll see the real gap. I looked at the pen in her hand. It sat there, doing nothing. A wooden pen calms the mind, I said. But how does someone with that much hate ever find peace? I'll wait and see. On exam day, I walked in with the gold pen. It moved smoothly across the page, like it already knew the answers. But I knew this wasn't the end. Only the first step. 3 days of testing went by cleanly. Walking out of the last exam, the sun felt too bright. Mrs. Reeves was waiting at the gate. How'd it feel? Not bad. If you're saying not bad, it means it went great. In the crowd, Vanessa watched from a distance, pale. I heard later she left 2 whole math problems blank. Her essay went off topic entirely. The wooden pen never calmed a mind fixed on someone else's score. The day after finals, I moved out of Mrs. Reeves's place. Not because she asked me to, I just didn't want to overstay. I rented a small studio, 6th floor, no elevator, peeling walls. But once the door closed, it was mine. I set my grandfather's photo on the table, the gold pen beside it. Grandpa, I'll be all right. On the day scores posted, the website kept crashing. Before I could refresh it, Mrs. Reeves called first, her voice shaking. Julia, 3rd in the state. Science track, 3rd in the entire state. I stood there, stunned, even though part of me had known. Grandpa, I got in. The school hung banners. Local news called for an interview. I stood in front of the camera in my worn-out uniform. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you, Mrs. Reeves. And thank you to myself for not giving up. After it aired, I got a little internet attention. People love an underdog story, grandfather gone. Kicked out by relatives, still ranking 3rd in the state. Some cried in the comments. Some asked for study tips. So I started a live stream. At first, just to explain problems and make a little money for rent and tuition. The first night, over 100,000 people tuned in. She's so pretty. Ignore the face she's 3rd in the state. Need help with the last math problem. Anyone have an essay template? I didn't play the sad story. I picked up chalk and stood at the whiteboard. Hi, I'm Julia. I'll be live every night at 8, walking through SAT review. Free. Come if you want. The comments filled with kindness. An hour and a half in, someone with the username #movievillain requested to join the stream. I already knew who it was. I let her in. Julia, that desperate for cash already? Playing inspirational scholarship girl now? The stream went dead quiet, then exploded. Where'd this bitter troll come from? She's giving free lessons and you call that hustling? Can't pass your own exams, so you're dragging her down? Vanessa snapped. You don't understand anything. She's not even that good. She almost said gold pen. Caught herself. I looked straight into the camera. Vanessa, the school already has proof you stole from Grandpa. Keep spreading rumors, and I'll make that recording public. The comments went wild. She was flagged and removed from the platform seconds later. I didn't say another word about her. I just went back to the lesson. Let's continue with derivatives. But I knew from that night on, she couldn't hide in the shadows anymore. 5. The internet doesn't forget. Someone found our school forum. Someone dug up her old photos. The new dress, new shoes, new phone, all time-stamped days after Grandpa's death. Once people lined up the dates, the backlash was brutal. Her grandfather's body isn't even cold and she's out shopping? She went into someone else's live stream just to curse at them? Vanessa deleted her account, changed her name, swapped her profile photo. It only made her look guiltier. My aunt called, yelling before I even said hello. Are you trying to drive your sister to her death? She won't even leave the house. Happy now? In my first life, after Vanessa killed me, my aunt told everyone it was my own carelessness. She cried at my funeral and scolded me for dragging Vanessa into it. Same woman, same instincts. I didn't make her steal, I said calmly. I didn't make her come curse at me on camera. She was breathing hard with fury. Your sisters. Cousins, I corrected. And not even that. Since the day she threw me out, I hung up. I blocked the number. The live stream ran for a month. My following grew fast. A platform offered me a contract. I declined. Brands wanted sponsorships. I said no. I only kept basic tipping on, turned it off once I had enough to live on. money matters. But once your name is stained, it's hard to clean. I'd learned that lesson restoring old books. 2, the sooner you treat a stain, the better. Same goes for people. The day my acceptance letter arrived, I was picking up a package at the corner store. Cornell University, Rare Books and Cultural Preservation. The shop owner's wife got more excited than I did. A Cornell kid from our building. She grabbed a handful of candy and pressed it into my hands. For luck. On the house. Back home, I set the letter in front of Grandpa's photo. Grandpa, I'm going away for school. The gold pen sat on the table. The ink at the tip was still dark, but I felt no dependence on it anymore. Before the semester started, I visited his grave. There was a plastic bouquet at the headstone my aunt's doing. I knew without asking. Not grief. Fear of being shamed online for looking unfilial? I moved the plastic flowers aside, set down the mung bean cakes he loved instead. I sat there a long while before I left. Grandpa, I'm going to earn back this family's name. Not for them. For you. In September, I dragged an old suitcase onto campus. Registration was packed. As I finished the paperwork, someone called my name from behind. Julia. I turned. A carefully dressed girl, more polished than I remembered. It took a second to place her. Vanessa. She hadn't gotten into any college, barely passed the exam at all. Yet there she was, in designer clothes, a volunteer badge on her chest. Small world, huh? I signed up for a training program near campus. Guess we'll be seeing each other. Why are you here? She stepped closer, lowered her voice. To see how long you last without the wooden pen. I felt tired, suddenly, looking at the resentment behind her eyes. Vanessa, stay away from me, she smiled. Can't do that. I told you already. You stole my life. I'm taking it back, piece by piece. I stopped walking, turned to face her. Which part of your life did I steal? Her smile cracked. She had no answer, because the life she thought I'd taken was never hers to begin with. 6 college turned out busier than I expected. Small major, heavy course load paper, conservation, bookbinding, manuscript authentication, obscure work, exhausting work. While other students went to mixers, I lived in the lab and the library. My roommate, Chloe Sanders, was warm at first, brought me fruit when she learned about my family. I didn't want to owe anyone, so I paid her back in bubble tea and note-taking help. I thought the friendship was simple, until Vanessa showed up at a club fair. A senior had me stand at our table. Julia, you're worth more than 100 flyers just standing here. Not long after I sat down, Vanessa arrived. Permed hair, heavy makeup, nothing like high school. Chloe's eyes lit up. Are you a freshman too? You're gorgeous. Vanessa smiled. No, I have classes nearby. I'm Julia's older sister. No, I said immediately. You're not. Vanessa's eyes welled up right on cue. Julia, I know you're still upset. There were misunderstandings. But we grew up together. Her voice carried, just loud enough for the whole table to hear. Chloe tugged my sleeve. Julia, maybe you two should talk it out. No need. I pulled my hand back. Vanessa let a tear fall, right on schedule. It's fine if she won't acknowledge me. I'll acknowledge her. The people around us looked at me differently now. I didn't explain. Explaining just gave her more room to perform. I pulled up the recording instead. Her own voice. Don't bother looking. I have it. What are you gonna do? Her face went pale. The table went quiet. Want me to tell the rest? I asked. How you stole Grandpa's money and threw me out of the house? She left without another word. But she didn't give up. For months, she kept showing up near campus gifts for Chloe, dinners, manicures. Chloe started avoiding me. Then she stopped avoiding me entirely. Julia, your sister's actually pretty sweet. Rough around the edges, but her heart's in the right place. What'd she buy you? Chloe's face went red. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Near the end of freshman year, I applied to join Professor Whitman's conservation team. He led national research on rare manuscripts. Only 2 spots open. Application required a thesis, transcripts, a hand restoration sample, and a research proposal. I'd worked on mine for 3 months. The day before it was due, Chloe asked, out of nowhere, "Julia, where do you keep your application files?" "On my laptop," I said. I'd already learned my lesson from my first life. Kindness is fine. Being defenseless is not. That night, I made 3 backups, a flash drive, an email copy, and a printed set locked in a library locker. The next day, I left the dorm for an hour. On purpose. When I got back, the door was open. My laptop was sitting in a sink full of water. Chloe stood beside it, pale. I don't know what happened. "Is that right?" I pulled out my phone. "Let's call the police then." She jumped up. "Call the police?" A custom laptop, plus 3 months of research destroyed. "Should I offer you bubble tea instead?" In the doorway, I caught a flash of Vanessa's face, disappearing around the corner. She saw. I saw her see. I'd been waiting for this. 7, campus security, the dorm supervisor, and my advisor all showed up fast. Chloe kept insisting she'd just forgotten to lock the door. "Julia, why make this such a big deal?" "Because it was my work that got destroyed, not your excuse." "Do you have proof?" the advisor asked. I nodded and tipped over a small ceramic cat figurine on the shelf. Inside the base, a tiny, hidden camera. The footage played, Chloe locking the door from the inside, trying passwords on my laptop. Then a phone call. "I know. Just break it. Don't forget the money you promised." Then the laptop, into the sink. Chloe's legs gave out. "No, it's not what it looks like." "What is it then?" She started crying. "My family's in trouble. I need the money. You're skilled enough to redo it. I'm not like you." I almost laughed. "So you'll ruin 3 months of my work because you're short on cash?" Campus police took her in for questioning. "There should be a large transfer in her account recently," I added on my way out. "I think someone put her up to this." Chloe looked toward the door. No one was there anymore. But I knew Vanessa wasn't far. The fallout was serious. Major disciplinary mark, a court order to pay damages, and Chloe eventually withdrew from school. At first, she claimed she acted alone. Once the compensation order landed, she panicked and called me crying. "Julia, Vanessa manipulated me too. She said you ruined her family, that someone like you didn't deserve the spot. She gave me $5,000 to destroy your files. Then why didn't you say that to the police?" Silence. Then, she said if I told, she'd tell my parents about the payday loans I've been taking. "That's between you and her," I said and hung up. Not soft-hearted anymore. I submitted my backup materials on schedule. Professor Whitman asked during the interview, "Your files were nearly destroyed. Why so calm about it?" "The first rule of conservation," I said, "is protecting the evidence before you deal with the damage." He smiled. Not bad. A week later, I made the team. Vanessa texted after seeing the announcement. "Don't get cocky. You just got lucky." "Wasn't luck," I wrote back. "It was preparation." She never replied. But I knew this wasn't over. Sure enough, my aunt called soon after, no longer angry, crying instead. "Julia, your sister's been locking herself in her room, saying you ruined her. Can you talk to her? Did she admit to paying Chloe to hurt me?" Silence. "Then you should call the police," I said. "They can evaluate her." The crying stopped instantly. "How can you be so cold?" I hung up. That night, leaving the lab, I found her waiting under a streetlight. Mask on. Eyes red. "Julia?" she rasped. "You knew all along?" "Knew what?" She gripped the wooden pen. "That it was useless." "It works," I said. "Just not for you." Her expression shattered. "Why not?" "A wooden pen can only help you focus. It can't turn a bad person good." Or a lazy person, hardworking. She swung at me. I caught her wrist. Vanessa, don't push me again. Next time, it won't just be your pride you lose. She laughed bitterly. Fine. Let's see who falls first then. 8. Sophomore year, Professor Whitman called me into his office. A thick file sat on his desk, sealed. There's a project. National level, classified location, minimum 6 years. No outside contact. No public identity. No commercial work on the side. You're young by all rights. I shouldn't be offering this to you. But your hands are steady. So is your judgment. I didn't hesitate. I'm in. Don't you want time to think it over? There's nothing to think about. It sounded cold, but it was true. No parents, no grandfather, no family left worth counting. As for friends, I never forced anything. I was ready to give my best years to something that mattered. Before I left, I visited Mrs. Reeves. She'd moved up to teach incoming freshmen. She cooked a full spread. So happy to see me. I didn't share the project details, just said I'd be studying abroad long term. Good for you, she said, serving me food. Your grandpa would be proud. My throat tightened. Thank you, Mrs. Reeves. Don't thank me. Just eat, sleep, don't push yourself too hard. On the day I left, I wrote about the 2 pens in my journal. I brought the gold pen along not for luck, but as a reminder. Shortcuts help for a while. They don't replace your own 2 legs. The project site was a small, remote town. No applause there. Just mold, insect damage, torn pages, faded ink. A single damaged page could take 3 days. A single scroll, half a month. Some people quit. Some cried. My hands, soaked year-round in chemical solutions, ached at the joints. But every time I smoothed a torn page flat, something in my chest settled. That piece wasn't from the wooden pen. I'd built it myself. By year 3, the gold pen's ink began to fade. I felt nothing but calm when I noticed. It had helped me through exams, but the skill that stayed was mine. That same year, I heard Vanessa had failed the civil service exam 3 times straight. No gold pen this time. She couldn't even clear the written portion. Her mother pulled every string she had. Eventually, Vanessa landed a temporary contract job at the County Cultural Center. Online, she called herself a rising force in cultural heritage. Bought followers to build the image. Sister of an Ivy League graduate. Heir to a family legacy in book conservation. It was absurd. My grandfather had been an old man who repaired pens on a street corner. What he left behind was a lesson in staying grounded, not a brand for her to cash in on. By year 5, Vanessa had built a small following making short videos, holding the wooden pen to the camera. A family heirloom. It's why I've always had such a calm presence. The comments loved it. So elegant. Want to see her restore something. So she tried. She had no idea what she was doing. Regular old paperbacks, glued together and called ancient. Insect damage, called the breath of time. She sprayed water directly onto acid-damaged pages, a mistake that would make any real conservator wince. Colleagues sent me the video. I watched it in silence. You know her? Someone asked. Not really, I said. Year 6, just before the project wrapped, our team received a batch of materials from a local cultural center. One file, an application for special preservation funding. Reporting unit, Millbrook County Cultural Center. Project lead, Vanessa Hart. I saw her signature on the first page and understood she'd finally walked back into my path. 9. Her project was called Millbrook County Rare Books Preservation and Revival Initiative. Big name. Polished materials. Sharp photos. Clean budget. 10 minutes in, something didn't add up. The Qing Dynasty era editions she claimed didn't match the format of that period. The paper fibers didn't match either. Worse, one of the damaged scrolls she listed had been for sale in a used book market the previous year for under $400. I flagged it all and handed it to Professor Whitman. His face went dark reading it. This isn't incompetence. This is forgery. The team voted to send someone for an on-site review. Do you want to recuse yourself? He asked, knowing our history. No, I said. I need to see this myself. Back in Millbrook, the streets felt both familiar and foreign. The alley where Grandpa used to run his stall was gone. A bubble tea shop stood there now. At the cultural center entrance, Vanessa was greeting officials. Sharp suit, careful makeup, professional smile frozen the moment she saw me. You two know each other? One official asked. Before I could speak, Vanessa jumped in. Yes, she's my little sister. Learned from our grandfather, too. Director Hart, I said. Let's keep this professional. We're here to review a project, not for a family reunion. Her face drained of color. The audit was rough. The storage room was damp. Half the climate control units weren't even running. The registry listed 230 rare texts. Only 167 were actually on site. Loaned out for exhibition, Vanessa claimed. To whom? Where's the paperwork? She had none. I opened the file marked Key Restorations Completed. The pages crumbled at a touch. Who restored this? An outside contractor. Which one? No answer. No records. Sweat on her forehead. That afternoon, I gave my findings to the review panel. Falsified materials, missing inventory, misused funds, inadequate preservation conditions. I recommend suspending the grant and referring this to internal affairs and law enforcement. Vanessa stood up. You're settling a personal score. Call me by my title, I said calmly. I pulled up the evidence slide by slide. Screenshots of the resale listing, paper analysis, missing storage logs, irregular expense reports. If you believe this is personal, request an independent third-party review. Until then, I stand by my professional judgment. She slumped into her chair. Afterward, she blocked me in the hallway. Why do you have to ruin me? You did that yourself. She laughed until it turned into tears. You think you're impressive? You forget you relied on the gold pen too. My stomach dropped. If people found out your whole career came from a cursed pen, would they still believe in you? What do you want? I want your gold pen, and I want you to fix my report. Or we both go down together. 10. She asked me to meet her at the old warehouse behind the cultural center. Claimed Grandpa had left something there. I didn't believe her. I went anyway. I wanted to see exactly how far she'd go. The warehouse hadn't been used in years. Dust rushed out when I pushed the door open. She stood inside, holding the wooden pen, looking far more worn down than the last time I'd seen her. Julia, her voice softened. Let's stop fighting. Help me this once, and I'll leave you alone forever. How? Fix the report so it shows the corrections passed. I can cover the gap with what's left of the grant. Lend me the gold pen too. I still need to pass the civil service exam. Vanessa, do you really think a title fixes everything? Her face darkened. What else is there? You had the wooden pen in your first life. Now I don't get the gold one? Why do you get to have it and I don't? I explained it to her plainly, for the first time. In my first life, I used the wooden pen because you took the gold one first. It helped me focus. But I solved every problem myself. I memorized every fact myself. I built every skill myself. This life, the gold pen just smoothed the exams. I never stopped doing the work underneath. Vanessa, a pen was never the whole life. You've had it backward the entire time. She froze, then screamed. Don't lecture me, just help me. She pulled a box cutter from her bag. The blade snapped out, sharp in the silence. I stepped back half a step. Scared? She said. Give me the gold pen. Call Professor Whitman. Tell him your report was wrong. It's almost out of ink, I said softly. She didn't believe me. Prove it. I handed her the pen. She scribbled furiously on a scrap of paper. Faint marks at first, then nothing. The tip had run dry. Impossible. She shook it. It's supposed to work every time. Nothing lasts forever, I said. Her head snapped up. You knew. I didn't deny it. She lunged, pressed the blade to my throat. Then why didn't you tell me? I told you plenty of times. Don't lean on things outside yourself. Did you ever listen? Her hands shook. The blade nicked my skin. A thin line of pain. She started to cry. Julia, what do I do? They found me. The contractor ran. I can't get the money back. I can't go to prison. I'm too young. I felt nothing. In my first life, I'd been young too when she took my life away. Footsteps outside. The warehouse door burst open. Officers rushed in and pinned her down. You called the police? She said, eyes wide. I touched the small recorder hidden in my collar. The second you asked me to meet you here, she struggled, shouting my name all the way out. Her voice went hoarse before they got her to the car. I stood at the warehouse door, watching the gray sky. My phone buzzed a message from Professor Whitman. Report's been filed. Take care of yourself. Don't worry, Professor, I wrote back. I thought of my grandfather then. Would this scene have made him sad? Probably. But he would have understood too. Some people can't be saved. 11. After Vanessa's arrest, my aunt showed up outside my dorm, kneeling and sobbing. Julia, please. Your sister can't go to prison. Her whole life will be ruined. A crowd gathered. Someone pulled out a phone to film. She grabbed my legs. I held you when you were a baby. When your parents died, we took you in. You can't be this heartless. I looked down at her. How many days did you actually take care of me? Or do you mean when you used my parents' life insurance to pay off your mortgage? Or made me sleep in the storage room? She stopped crying, mid-breath. The crowd murmured. After Grandpa died, you took the funeral money and threw me out. Vanessa paid someone to destroy my thesis materials. Now she's under investigation for fraud, and she held a blade to my neck. You want me to let that go? Her face went pale. She's your sister. I crouched to her eye level. I don't have a sister. I only had a grandfather. Security escorted her away. She was still calling me heartless as they let her out. I didn't feel sad. Once someone treats family as leverage, there's nothing left but disgust. The case moved fast. At first, Vanessa denied everything, claimed the outside contractor was solely responsible, that she'd only signed paperwork. Then, investigators found the transfers into her personal account. Text messages between her and the contractor. Her own words, "Doesn't matter if it's real or fake, as long as it looks good. I can fool the experts." Even Chloe, out of school and bitter about her own ruined future, came forward with a recording of Vanessa instructing her to sabotage my files. Vanessa finally panicked. Her lawyer asked if I'd visit. I refused twice. The third message came with a single line. I know what Grandpa left us both. I went to the detention center. Through the glass, she looked thin. Hair cut short, skin dull. Julia, you came. Talk. She smiled. Grandpa played favorites. He knew the gold pen would ruin whoever held it. So, in your first life, he made sure I'd be the one to grab it. Are you blaming a dead man now? She tapped the glass. Isn't it true? If he'd just given me the wooden pen? In your first life, you took the gold pen. In this one, you took the wooden pen. Every single time, it's you who grabs first. She froze. I pulled out a yellowed letter found by investigators, hidden in a crack in the old house wall, addressed to both of us. Open together. I read it aloud, his handwriting steady despite his age. The gold pen aids success. The wooden pen aids calm. But for someone with cruelty in their heart, the gold pen breeds greed, and the wooden pen only reveals restlessness. Real change never comes from a pen. It comes from whether a person is willing to work, willing to admit fault, and willing to keep a conscience. When I finished, she went completely still. Then the tears came. Impossible. Why would he say that about me? He wasn't talking about you specifically, I said. You walked into that sentence yourself. She broke down. Julia, I was wrong. Help me. Write a statement in my defense. I'd waited years to hear that word from her. Hearing it now, I felt only exhaustion. Vanessa, if sorry actually worked, we wouldn't need laws. I hung up the phone and stood to leave. Behind me, her voice cracked. Julia, come back. I really do know I was wrong. I didn't turn around. Too late. 12. On trial day, the sun was harsh on the courthouse steps. My aunt and uncle showed up, staring at me like I was the villain. I didn't look away. Vanessa was so thin when they brought her in, I barely recognized her. Her lips moved when she saw me. No sound came out. Charge after charge, piece by piece. Project fraud, embezzlement, instigating property damage, threatening someone with a blade. There were also records of her charging strangers for fake conservation workshops, $300 a head, content copied off random websites. Some of them had used her methods on real family heirlooms, ruined beyond repair. An elderly man cried on the stand. That was my family's genealogy record. I trusted her. She soaked the pages until they fell apart. Vanessa lowered her head, shoulders shaking. She had nothing left to argue. In her final statement, she looked at me. Julia, the judge reminded her to stay on topic. She cried instead. I always believed she stole my life. Only now do I understand. I never took a single day seriously. I hated her because she did what I couldn't. The courtroom went quiet. I sat with my fingers on my grandfather's letter. When he died, I didn't cry. I only thought about what I could grab. If I could do it over, she stopped and smiled, faintly. Never mind. I'd probably still choose wrong. Only I understood what she meant by that. The verdict. 15 years, combined across all charges. Fines. Forfeiture of illegal gains. She fainted on the spot. Her father caught her, then turned to glare at me. Are you satisfied? It wasn't my verdict, I said. It was the law. Outside, Professor Whitman was waiting with a bottle of water. Is it over? It's over. He looked at the faint scar on my neck. What's next for you? Keep restoring books. Good, he said. 3 years later, I officially joined the National Archive Conservation Institute. By then, the gold pen had stopped writing entirely. When the wooden pen came back as returned evidence, it had lost its shine, too. I put both pens in a small box. Not as keepsakes, not thrown away either. Just old things my grandfather left behind. What actually carried me here wasn't them. It was every quiet night I refused to quit. Later, I changed my name. Not to escape the past to start fresh. Julia Hart carried too much grief and hate. My new name was Julia Reed. Reed, because I wanted to bend without breaking. At the records office, the clerk asked, "You're sure?" Confirmed. Walking out, an email came through from the prison system. Vanessa had written me a letter. She'd learned traditional bookbinding inside. Said she'd sat quietly for 3 hours once, not thinking about hate or losing or me. Julia. If Grandpa were still here, would he forgive me? I read it for a long time. I never wrote back. Whether to forgive her, that was his decision. Mine was just to keep moving forward. 13. 10 years later, I went back to Millbrook. The place had changed. The old street was renovated. The bubble tea shop had been replaced by a convenience store. The spot where my grandfather once ran his stall was now a mural on the town's memory wall. Old photographs lined it. One of him, head bowed, repairing a fountain pen. In the corner, a little girl with a ponytail. Me. A young colleague beside me asked, "Is that you, Professor Reed?" Yes. I'd come back because the county sent a batch of damaged family records to our institute for repair. Among them, A Hart family genealogy, worm-eaten, mold-stained, missing pages. By standard procedure, it wasn't valuable enough to prioritize. I restored it myself anyway. Why? A colleague asked. Practice, I said. But really, I just wanted to give my grandfather an answer. It took 4 months: paper repair, mounting, stain removal, flattening, rebinding. On the final page, I found a line he'd written as a young man. Being a person is like sharpening a pen. Only when the heart stays straight does the ink flow clean. I read it until my eyes burned. On the anniversary of his death, I brought the restored book to his grave. I kept it clean year-round, paid someone to tend it. I set the genealogy in front of the headstone, along with his favorite cakes and a brand new pen. Grandpa, I'm back. Wind moved through the pines. I sat there the way I used to sit beside his repair stall as a child. Vanessa is still serving her sentence. Time reduced for good behavior, I heard. She's written a few letters over the years. I never replied. Don't blame me for that. I really don't want to look back anymore. The gold pen ran dry a long time ago. The wooden one is old and worn. But I write steady now, with neither. I took both pens from my bag and set them at the headstone. Not buried, just left there, for him to see. You always said the road has to be walked alone. I made it this far. Tired, but I never embarrassed you. Heading down the mountain, my phone rang. Unknown number. A long silence. Then, her voice. Hoarse. Julia. I stopped walking. I'm getting out soon. I don't expect you to be there. I just wanted you to know. I looked out at the sky. Okay. She took a breath. All these years, I've wondered if I hadn't fought for that pen the day Grandpa handed them out. Would things have gone differently? No, I said. She went quiet. If you wanted to take something by force, you'd have found a way, pen or not. Silence. Then a laugh through tears. You're right, Julia. I'm sorry. This time, it sounded soft. She didn't ask me to forgive her. She didn't ask for help. Just 3 words. Something old, scarred over, shifted a little in my chest. It didn't hurt anymore, but it was still there. Vanessa, live your own life. Stop staring at mine. Okay, she said quietly. The call ended. I didn't block the number. I didn't save it either, a colleague asked. Heading back to the institute, Professor Reed? I watched the trees blur past the window and nodded back. There are still books waiting for me, damaged, forgotten, nearly gone. They need patience. They need time. And right now, patience is the one thing I have plenty of. Someone interviewed me once, asked why I picked such a small, obscure field. Because repairing a book is a lot like being a person, I said. Torn, you mend it. Dirty, you clean it. But if it's rotten at the root, first you have to admit that it's rotten. Do you think fate can be changed? She asked. I smiled. It can. Not by stealing someone else's pen by holding tight to your own. My sister opened a floral design studio. She used diluted acetone to make crystal flowers. I'm a chemistry major. I told her, plainly, it was toxic. I told her not to let students handle it unprotected. When her business tanked, she blamed me for it. She poured every drop of raw material across the floor, locked the doors and windows, and let me suffocate while I begged for help. When I opened my eyes again, I was back the night before she decided to open the shop. She was holding up a crystal flower, announcing to the whole family, I'm going to make a fortune off this. I stayed silent. I moved out that same night. You can't talk someone out of walking into their own disaster. Say one more word, and I'll bite my own tongue first. I still can't quite believe I got a second chance. When I came to, my sister Vanessa was turning a crystal clear flower over in her hands, announcing it to the whole family. See this? Crystal flower. Spent a fortune learning this technique out of state. No one in this town's ever seen anything like it, have they, Mom, Dad? They crowded around, amazed. It's gorgeous. Never seen craftsmanship like that. Grandma chimed in. My granddaughter's so clever. I'll make pork belly tonight, in her honor. Vanessa's mouth curled with pride. Then her eyes landed on me, the only one who hadn't said a word. Stella. Does it look good? My mind went blank for a second. In my first life, she'd asked me the exact same question. I nodded. Honestly, it did look nice. But I caught a faint smell coming off the petals. Mint, almost. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Later at her shop, I found out that scent came from what she called flower solution. It was acetone, the same diluent I used in chemistry lab. Flammable. Toxic. I know that chemical intimately. I warned her right away to stop using it. She brushed it off and complained to our parents that I was just jealous. They believed her, forbade me from setting foot in her shop again. So I quietly warned the students who came in to learn, take precautions if you can. Her business kept sliding. She dug around and figured out I was the one warning people. Furious, she poured every bit of raw material across the living room floor one night while I slept. By the time I woke up, the doors and windows were already locked. My phone, gone. Our parents and grandmother, already sent out of the house. I crawled to the door on what strength I had left, begging. She stood right on the other side. Stella, you ruined my business. I'm not letting this go, even in death. You keep saying it's toxic. Let's see exactly how toxic. She genuinely didn't believe acetone could kill. Then she went out clubbing with her friend. Days later, our parents found me on the floor, not breathing. They told everyone I'd gone abroad to study and drove my body deep into the mountains to bury it, hours from home. My mother wiped a tear on the drive. Don't blame your sister. We already lost one daughter, can't lose two. My father spat. She was never really ours anyway. We fed her long enough, that's plenty. Isn't this bad luck? Vanessa asked, grinding her heel into the dirt over my grave. Sister, next life, keep your mouth shut about what's poisonous and what isn't. You had this coming. This time, I won't say a word. I gasped in fake delight for the whole family's benefit. Wow, these are gorgeous, Vanessa. You're amazing. At dinner, she finally made her ask. She wanted to open a training studio. Mom hesitated over her plate. That's a whole storefront. We don't have that kind of money. Just like before, Vanessa jumped in. Don't we still have that empty property? The storefront she meant was left by our grandfather, a rundown building on a dead street, mostly empty units. After I turned 18, they'd moved me in there, claiming the house was too crowded. Really, it was because Vanessa threw a fit about sharing a room with me. That storefront was cramped, packed with scrap wood, filthy, and the only real furniture a bed I'd bought myself with part-time job money. As soon as Vanessa mentioned it, Mom remembered it too. But Stella's living there. Without missing a beat, she can move back into the dorms. It's a good school. Dorms are basically the same thing. I watched them play off each other, cold and detached. In my first life, they'd pushed me out of that house too, never once paid for a dorm, and instead worked me like unpaid staff for Vanessa's shop while they kept every dollar. This time, before Mom could speak, I jumped in first. Sure, but dorms cost $10,000 a year. Mom, just transfer it and I'll take it straight to the office. $10,000 a year? Might as well rob a bank. Mom shot up like she'd been burned. I sighed, feigning helplessness. That's just what our school costs. You already knew that. Actually, remember that scholarship money I've been sending home? Should be close to $100,000 by now, right? You've been holding it for me. Let's go withdraw it tomorrow. 10 for tuition. The rest can go toward Vanessa's shop. Mom's anger vanished instantly. Oh, right, the scholarship money. No need to withdraw 10 separately. I'll just transfer it myself tomorrow. Vanessa caught the key detail. You're giving that money to me? I nodded, all admiration. Of course. You're so capable, Vanessa. You'll earn it back with interest. She puffed up under the praise, not noticing Mom's face going tight with discomfort. Obviously, Vanessa said, once I strike it rich with these flowers, I won't forget you. I already knew she'd been quietly pocketing that money for herself. She agreed so fast because she was terrified I'd find out she could still tell the difference between 10,000 and 100. I just wondered what her face would look like when she realized that 100,000 had vanished into thin air. I couldn't wait. I packed up and moved back into the dorms that same night. If I stayed any longer, I was afraid I'd end up poisoned early. A few days later, Mom called. Stella, come home and help with cleaning. I knocked a test tube off the table on purpose, let it shatter loudly. Mom, I'm mid-experiment. You made me break glassware. Scholarship reviews are coming up. If my professor sees this, I'm done for. The second I said scholarship, her tone flipped instantly. Oh, okay. I'll let you go. In the background, Vanessa was furious. Why won't you make her come help? I can't clean this whole place alone. Mom lowered her voice. She needs that scholarship. Where's your husband? Did you two fight again? The second he's gone, you start bossing your sister around. You're a grown woman, clean your own house. Don't bring him up. And you still haven't explained where that 100,000 went. The fight escalated from there. My mother liked to pretend she was on my side, but whenever Vanessa ordered me around, she stood by and did nothing, only saying afterward, "It's nice having such a considerate little sister." The only time she ever treated me decently was when my scholarship was involved. Could they not survive without me? Whoever wanted to be their free labor could go ahead. It wasn't going to be me anymore. 2 weeks later, Vanessa's studio opened. Crystal flowers filled the window display, drawing in every girl who walked past. Come on in, everyone. Grand opening free crystal flowers today. The word free pulled in more than just the target crowd. Inside, they found all kinds of things they'd never seen before. Someone asked quietly, "Why does this flower smell weird?" Vanessa didn't miss a beat. New shop smell. That's the formaldehyde, it fades in a few days. I stood off to the side in an N95 mask, listening to her lie through her teeth. That smell was acetone, evaporating. And the shop was small, packed wall to wall with product, with windows that didn't even seal properly. Sealed up and unventilated for long enough, it wouldn't end well for anyone. In my first life, students used to faint and get sick without explanation during her classes. She always blamed low blood sugar. It was acetone poisoning. She'd spray perfume over everything afterward to mask the smell. A customer asked, "So does this stuff have formaldehyde in it too?" "Of course not," Vanessa said sweetly. "Totally safe materials? Don't believe me? Ask my sister, she's a chemistry major at State." She pointed straight at me. "Grateful for the mask?" I answered calmly. "There's formaldehyde in it. But one flower alone isn't a huge risk. Loud enough for the whole room to hear, but not louder than that." Mom rushed over and shoved me aside. "Get out! Get out! Always here to start trouble." Then, turning to the customer with a fake apologetic sigh, "So sorry she's never gotten along with her sister. Foster kid, what can you do?" The customer half believed it, especially watching Mom sigh and Vanessa tear up on cue. "Shouldn't spoil a foster kid too much," he muttered, shaking his head. Blood's blood. He bought 10 flowers on the spot. Others followed his lead buying flowers, signing up for classes. The whole shop filled with people rushing to register. I got pushed outside, watching them all scramble. No glue, no formaldehyde, a moldable flower with none of that. Impossible. In small doses, most of it evaporates by the time it reaches a customer enough that buying one to display is low risk, generally speaking. But the people making them, hands in the material daily, no ventilation, no mask, that's a different story entirely. I warned her out of genuine concern. Even in the actual lab, I rarely handled propanol directly, always under a fume hood. Gloves, goggles, mask. Trainees only touch the material occasionally. Low risk. My sister was surrounded by it constantly. I never expected that. In return for the warning, she'd try to end my life. Because I'd embarrassed her publicly, I was banned from ever setting foot in the shop again. My father, who normally ignored my existence, called and said flatly, "No more support from us. You're on your own now," as if he'd ever supported me in the first place. Since I was young, they'd told me I was adopted, an abandoned infant they'd taken pity on. If it weren't for us, you'd have died in a dumpster somewhere. I used to believe it back then. So I worked constantly, laundry, cooking, chores, never talking back, thinking I owed them for taking love away from Vanessa. She hit me, insulted me, and I never fought back. It wasn't until after I died that I learned the truth. I'd been trafficked. On the day they buried me, decades of guilt finally made my mother want to give me a proper grave. My father sneered. "A grave? Are you insane? What if police find it? How do you explain where she came from? You want to say the words, 'we bought her'?" Something in me went cold hearing that. Every beating, every bit of neglect, it all made sense now. They never saw me as theirs. I'd been sold to them. Knowing what I know now, I can't pretend anymore. This life, I found a blood donation site and gave a DNA sample to law enforcement the very next day. Processing takes 2 to 3 months. Before those results came back, I got news that Vanessa had a miscarriage. "Come home," Mom said. "Your sister's in the hospital." Honestly, I wasn't surprised. Around acetone all day. No mask, no airflow, something was bound to go wrong. The second I walked into her hospital room, an apple flew at my head. I caught it. Vanessa was already screaming. "Why didn't you come help me clean?" I was pregnant, lifting heavy boards, breathing dust all day. Now look what happened. You owe me my baby. This is your fault. Mom shot me a glare. If you'd just gone to help, this wouldn't have happened. I almost laughed. I didn't cause the miscarriage. I didn't open that shop. I didn't insist on making those flowers. So why is this on me? I turned to Mom. "Did you go help her clean?" Her eyes shifted away. I had other things going on. My brother-in-law, silent the whole time, muttered, "Busy playing cards." More like, Mom exploded. "What's that supposed to mean? And where were you when it was time to clean?" "Probably out with some mistress." They tore into each other from there. For years, he'd wanted a son. Vanessa never got pregnant, and his family piled on the pressure. Everyone knew he'd found someone else outside the marriage because of it. Nothing came of the affair, but Vanessa held on to that resentment, determined to get pregnant no matter what. A nurse eventually stormed in to shut down the shouting. My brother-in-law, furious, snapped at Vanessa. "Just close the shop already. You barely made money and now you've lost our son." Actually, I cut in. "You're wrong there. I saw the crowd that opening day. Don't stand in the way of her getting rich, Vanessa." Under the flattery, Vanessa perked right back up. These country people had never seen crystal flowers before. They were lining up just to give me their money. More registration notifications buzzed on her phone as she spoke, her face lighting up with pride. Look, more people giving me more money. She decided, right there, I'm doing it, reopening the classes. 2 weeks later, she was pregnant again. My mother found some folk remedy from who knows where, a black paste she mashed into medicine. Vanessa was disgusted at first, but somehow it worked. When her students found out, they asked if she'd keep teaching. "Of course," she said. "Everything I use is completely natural and safe." She turned herself into a walking ad, streaming online, encouraging expecting mothers to sign up for her classes. The platform banned her account within days for spreading dangerous misinformation. Furious, she pushed me to use my science page to clear her name. I let out a long sigh, feigning sympathy. Some lunatics out there pushing fake science online. Even the platform flagged it, told creators like me to be extra careful. By the way, what exactly were you trying to educate people about? Silence. Then she hung up. I already knew this pregnancy was headed for disaster. Doctors recommend waiting at least 3 months after a miscarriage before trying again. She was pregnant again in under 2 weeks. On top of the health risk to her, and to a fetus without enough time to develop properly, she was still breathing acetone fumes daily. My paternity test results came back around then too. No family match found. Not surprising, with a country this size. As long as I'm alive, I won't stop looking. At just over 7 months, Vanessa went into premature labor. The baby was born with birth defects. My brother-in-law lost it on the spot, demanding answers from the doctor. Did you pull too hard? How did this happen? The doctor, unimpressed, stayed professional. Sir, normally we'd catch this in routine screening. Your wife skipped every prenatal test. No ultrasound, no genetic screening, nothing. I couldn't have warned you about a problem I was never allowed to look for. Then, flatly, what was the point of saving that money? If you'd come in earlier, none of this happens. My mother took 2 steps back at that. When Vanessa first wanted to go in for a checkup, the shop was busy, and Mom talked her out of it. That folk remedy your aunt gave you is fine. Why waste money on hospital visits? Vanessa agreed. For 7 straight months, she skipped nearly every checkup, terrified of what her husband would say. Mom dropped to the floor outside the ward, wailing. My grandson, it's all my fault. I should have made her get checked. She glanced over and saw my father had already slipped out to smoke, ashamed. So she cried even louder for the audience that remained. As if that wasn't enough, right as Vanessa came out of surgery, still unconscious, an employee from the shop called, panicked. One of the students had a miscarriage. My brother-in-law, hands in his pockets, barely reacted. So? What's that got to do with me? She had the flour solution tested. It's acetone. It's toxic. His face went pale, but he held firm. So what if it's toxic? She can't prove the miscarriage is connected. Vanessa advertised it as safe. Now they're coming to the shop demanding answers, talking about a lawsuit. He fainted on the spot. Around then, I was giving my second DNA sample. The database had just expanded more accurate matching this time. A message came through from the student who'd miscarried. Thank you for telling me that stuff was toxic. I've hired a lawyer. They're going to pay for this. I smiled and closed my phone without responding. That student had believed Vanessa's lies too. Wanting to contribute to her own household, she'd signed up for classes. 2 months in, she started feeling sick constantly. Vanessa told her it was low immunity, told her to drink more of the pregnancy support tea she was selling. By month 3, she miscarried. I was the one who told her to get the materials tested by a lab. When Vanessa woke up and learned she was being sued, she nearly fainted again. Clutching her disabled newborn, she gritted her teeth. Don't bother. I don't think they'll actually drag me to court. She ignored every court summons. Ruled absent, the judge sided fully with the plaintiff $500,000 in damages, plus a $30,000 fine for false advertising. Every enrolled student demanded refunds. The once busy shop went silent. Worse was still coming. Her baby wasn't only physically disabled. Doctors flagged significant intellectual disability too. Conservatively, permanent, lifelong care. My mother called, crying. The doctors say the baby might not make it. I told her to let go, but she won't. Now we need money for treatment. Where's it supposed to come from? I don't even want to talk to her anymore. She only calls to ask me to help pay off her sister's debt. When I first started college, they'd told me to take out student loans, claiming it was for tuition. It went toward Vanessa's dowry instead. I begged for the money back. My father slapped me across the face and spat at my feet. Think you're something special? You've eaten my food and slept under my roof your whole life, acting like I'm asking for your life over a little cash. Be grateful I let you go to school instead of selling you off. After that, I worked 3 jobs just to cover tuition, buried in debt of my own. Years of nothing from them, and even after Vanessa's mess, they still expected me to bail her out. Since she liked to play dumb, I decided I would too. So, what am I supposed to do? I gave Vanessa everything, didn't keep a cent. How much does she owe? $500,000. So that money's all gone too then? I still owe tuition. I still have loans. Even working my whole life, I couldn't earn that back. My money, I let myself sob. Loudly, dramatically. Mom, can you ask Vanessa to pay me back? Pay you back my ass, she snapped, forgetting the entire point of her call, cursing me out instead. Aren't you the chemistry expert? Why didn't you warn us this stuff was dangerous? You did this on purpose. To ruin your sister. Ruin this whole family. She conveniently forgot I'd warned everyone about the formaldehyde from the very beginning. No one had listened. I never expected her to actually show up at my school to beg for money in front of everyone. She dropped to her knees, sobbing theatrically. Look at her. This is the daughter I raised. The second her sister needed help, she ran. Wouldn't answer my calls. How does a school this good produce someone with such rotten character? Everyone turned to look. I stood still, watching her with nothing behind my eyes. I don't have money, I said. She's not my biological sister. I can't help her. Mom stiffened. Not your sister? We raised you like our own for years. Even a dog gets attached after that long. How can a person be this ungrateful? That's your sister, not a stranger. How dare you deny her? Her plan was clear, pin the shame on me publicly. The crowd of students kept growing, and she got bolder with the audience. I didn't bother arguing. College kids are naive, not stupid. Sure enough, someone in the crowd spoke up. Ma'am, you're making your biological daughter work to fund your adopted daughter's degree? Something's off there. Unless your real daughter couldn't get in herself? Cornered, she softened her tone. We're family. It doesn't matter who's in school. You have to help her. Don't forget who put food on your table. This felt painfully familiar. The help she meant was co-signing high-interest loans in my name. They kept the money. I kept the debt. In their minds, feeding me leftovers and letting me raise myself for 20 years was some kind of gift. If I hadn't found out I was trafficked, how much longer would they have used that guilt to control me? Smiling, I pulled out my phone. Then let's call the police. Her face went blank. She hadn't expected that. I showed her the screen 911, ready to dial. Since you're pushing this hard, let's ask them officially whether an adopted daughter owes her sister's debts. She scrambled up, shot me one last resentful look, and disappeared into the crowd. Never did call the police herself. Without me covering their shortfalls, my brother-in-law's income alone couldn't fill the hole in their finances. Vanessa had to sell the shop to pay it down. Still wasn't enough. Eventually, they mortgaged the family house. Without a home, the whole family moved into a cramped, aging apartment building on the outskirts of town. Even after the move, former students kept showing up, demanding compensation for emotional damages. Worse still, my brother-in-law walked out entirely. Even after all that, Vanessa refused to let go of the crystal flower dream. She truly believed those flowers were her ticket to wealth. After selling the shop, she moved every last supply into the cramped apartment and started making flowers before sunrise every day. This time at least, she'd learned to open the windows. But the fumes still drifted through the building, and the neighbors noticed fast. An elderly woman next door leaned on her cane, voice sharp despite her age. What exactly are you brewing in there? I'm old, I can't handle a smell like that. Fix it or move. Vanessa ignored her completely, absorbed in her flowers. Mom didn't dare argue with the neighbor directly, so she brought Grandma out to trade insults instead. Mind your own business, old woman. My granddaughter's destined for great things. You want to be the one who stops her? The building's walls were thin, and complaints from other residents piled up fast. Days later, Grandma was rushed to the hospital poisoning. Word spread that her own granddaughter had done it to her. Vanessa flew into a rage at home. A bunch of gossips. "Just wait until I'm rich. I'll show them." She refused to stop. She spent what little compensation money was left on more supplies, planning to start teaching classes again, right there in the apartment. That was the moment her father finally snapped. He kicked over every container, smashed every finished flower. In the middle of her screaming, he slapped her across the face. "You're the one who destroyed this family." They were too busy fighting to notice the match he'd used to light his cigarette hadn't fully gone out. The building exploded. Firefighters arrived fast, but the street was too narrow, blocked with illegally parked cars. By the time they cleared a path and got water on the fire, half the floor had already burned. Most residents made it out. The family in the unit where the fire started did not. When Vanessa was carried out, the baby in her arms had already stopped breathing. She had third-degree burns across most of her body and had slipped into a coma. Rushed into surgery at 3 a.m, the doctors couldn't save her. She died with her hands still curled around a half-finished crystal flower. My parents had been closer to the door when the explosion hit. They crawled out with injuries, but survived. Now they faced an entirely new wave of damages, the destroyed building, under full investigation by the fire department. My mother, pale and desperate, told the officials, "I have another daughter. She can pay for this." She tried calling me over and over. The calls never went through. She had no idea that, at that exact moment, I was meeting my biological parents for the first time. Since my rebirth, I'd been searching, wanting to know once and for all whether I'd been lost or taken. After my second DNA sample entered the wider database, the police called with a match. Something like instinct pulled me straight to her the second I walked into that station. I recognized my birth mother immediately, in a room full of strangers. "Mom!" Tears came before I could stop them. After more than 20 years apart, I finally had my family back. Learning what I'd been through, my birth parents broke down in front of the reporters and police. Our daughter was taken 21 years ago. They'd brought their 2-year-old on a family trip to see the mountains for the first time. While they were distracted, marveling at the view, their child disappeared. So did the local guide who'd recommended the trip. They still remembered his name, all these years later, Kevin, and the woman with him, Grace. A reporter nearby went still. "Wait, isn't that the couple from the apartment fire? The same people harassing me for money this whole time?" Every angry call, every threat, every plea from my adoptive parents became evidence. In October, a special task force launched a nationwide anti-trafficking operation. Police issued a public warrant for 7 fugitives connected to trafficking rings. Kevin and Grace were on the list. In November, they were caught, still protesting their innocence when arrested. "I did take the child," Kevin admitted, "but I raised her, treated her like my own. Why arrest me now?" A reporter finally broke, camera still rolling. "You stole someone's daughter. You're a trafficker. That's all you are." They knelt, cried for the cameras, hoping I'd testify on their behalf. Before the trial, I saw them one last time. Kevin still carried that arrogance, still assumed I'd fold. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Get me out of here. Grace searched the hallway nervously, then reached through the visitation gap for my hand. "Stella, I was wrong. I'll never make you help your sister again. Please tell them it was all a mix-up. I raised you all these years. Even if it wasn't much, it was something. You wouldn't just watch me suffer, would you?" The stench of her fear reached me before her words did. I stepped back. A misunderstanding? A dry laugh, making me do every chore, not letting me eat at the table, making me crawl and bark like a dog. Was that a misunderstanding? Refusing to pay for school, sending me out in winter with no coat, begging teachers for a place to sleep, calling me a bastard child. A misunderstanding? accusing me of stealing when money went missing, beating me until I confessed, making me kneel on a street corner and beg while you gambled, and beating me harder when I didn't bring back enough. Is that a misunderstanding? The day you took me, you watched my real parents kneel in the street, begging strangers for help. My mother cried herself half blind. My father's hair turned white overnight. Misunderstandings? All of it? That year, an entire family had gone from wealthy to broke, chasing rumors across the country, hoping for any lead, real or not. 23 years, stolen over someone's greed. Human traffickers deserve exactly what's coming to them. The following March, the case went to trial. First verdict, 6 years, $800,000 in damages. They appealed. Second trial the following month. 6 years, $750,000. While being transferred, the court received another joint complaint from the building's other residents, demanding compensation for their own losses. Leaving the courthouse, reporters swarmed, then went quiet. Behind me stood a line of parents and relatives, still holding signs with photos of missing children. Eyes steady, arms raised, hoping someone, somewhere, would recognize a face. Some people online said 6 years was too light a sentence. Some said $750,000 wasn't nearly enough for 20 years stolen. Having lived 2 lives now, I understand just how hard it is to find one person in a country this size. As someone once said, human trafficking is like ash that never fully goes out. It keeps testing how far people will bend their conscience. Where there's demand, there will be supply. We can't stop it from happening again. All we can do is remember. Not look away. Not let a single case go unpunished. Never forget the ones still missing. Never scroll past a stranger's post about a lost child. Never let a trafficker walk free. Since DNA databases started being used in these cases, generations of investigators have worked quietly, patiently, to bring lost children home. Nearly 1,000 reunions, and counting.